Good afternoon to everybody and a warm welcome to the 146th edition of the Global Weather Report, live here from our Vogan Weather HQ in Evanton, Rossshire. How are you doing this afternoon? I would be curious to find out. Let's get the chat going. The very first person on the live chat this afternoon was our very own Chris at Braemar, Ballater D-side and Donside Weather. How are you doing, Chris? Hope you're well, my friend, and keeping well. And we'll just see what else is happening. Just bear with me a second here just to pull up the live chat, and we will get going. The sun is shining here at the moment, but we do have a fairly brisk westerly wind and quite showery as well with that westerly wind. Somewhat fresher, but there is still an element of mugginess. I'll get there. Mugginess in the air, it has to be said. But at the moment, we've got 5 concurrent viewers at the time. I was going to say at the time of recording, but you know what I mean. We are live, obviously. Paul Farwell tuning in as well. Good afternoon to Paul. Hope you're well. My friend, what is everybody having for their dinner this evening? That is quite often a talking point here in the live. Is folks having their traditional Sunday roast, or are you having something a little bit different tonight? We happen to be having a barbecue. I hope it's not too windswept, I must admit, but the weather conditions were lovely last night. Not just as nice, obviously, today as we start to see the westerlies return once again. But yeah, we are going to hopefully get a nice break in the showers and enjoy a barbecue. Lindsay was working first thing this morning, so we decided to leave the barbecue last night and have it this evening. Good afternoon to Paul James as well. Good afternoon to Lindsay as well. So we've got Paul and Lindsay moderating today's live stream. So a great appreciation for their help and support in moderating the live chat, making sure that everybody's behaving themselves. Everybody generally does behave themselves, it has to be said. But yeah, let me see here who else is on this afternoon. David Vogan, so Dad tuning in from Kirkintilloch. Good afternoon to yourself. Hello from a sunny, showery Kirkintilloch, but very glad to see the rain this morning. Last 2 nights were very uncomfortable. Homemade broccoli soup and a filled roll is what Dad is having for his Sunday dinner. We've also got David Aitchison tuning in. Good afternoon to yourself. Good to see you, my friend. And also we've got Katrine tuning in. Good afternoon to Katrine. It is good to see everybody starting to show up on the live chat. So continue to keep your comments going. If you want a shout out, I'll give you that. And even if you want to ask a question, you are free to do so as well. That is the whole point in the live streams, to interact between myself and yourselves watching in, whether you're watching on a mobile device or on your TV. The downside to watching the TV is that you get to see all my wrinkles up close. At least I'm only visible at the bottom right hand corner instead of it being full screen. You definitely don't want to see that up close for sure. So yes, let me just see here if there's anybody else. Be sure to hit that like button, by the way. I would greatly appreciate that. It just helps spread the channel through the YouTube platform, and the algorithm, it helps out quite a bit, I must admit. And the channel is continuing to grow, so we're edging ever closer to what is it now? Actually, 6,000, and we're edging closer to 6,800 and 880, shall we say? So help me get to the 7,000 mark. I would greatly appreciate it, because all you need to do is hit that subscribe button. Absolutely free, doesn't cost you a single penny, and there's content 7 days a week. It is a busy channel, even though it's just a one-man band. It is just myself, but I do work full-time as a lorry driver, driving up and down the A9 for my sins each and every night, each and every weeknight anyway, but I still try to provide the unique, unhyped, unbiased, balanced content here on the channel. Obviously, we've been talking a lot about heat in the last wee while or so. And depending on what side of the global warming fence you sit on, people get a little bit antsy at what you say. I very much try to sit on the fence so that you're not upsetting any particular side of the argument. But obviously, once you mentioned about heat and heat waves, the global warming thing gets thrown out there very, very quickly. And I did ask a pretty reliable source what his opinion was with regards to these increases in temperature and whatnot. And I personally believe that we've been here before, and there will be some sort of a potential turnaround. I just simply don't know. None of us really truly know what the future holds. But we've been seeing this increase in heat earlier on in the summers compared to what we've seen back in years gone by. A lot of people mention about 1976, but globally, basically the UK was almost like an island in a sea of cooler compared to what we're seeing obviously now. Warmer oceans, warmer land, warmer atmosphere. There's no question about that. We've been warming things up. The question mark is, what is the cause of that? Is it completely carbon dioxide, or is there other factors? Obviously, we've got bigger towns and cities. We've got a bigger population. That also has to get taken into consideration as well. But yeah, it's becoming more of a story now with regards to every time there's a record-breaking temperature, there's other things thrown in there, and it can get a little bit suffocating. It makes you feel a little bit like weather just doesn't exist now without mentioning climate change, global warming, etc. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, and I don't want to get into a big debate on this on the channel, but I also don't want to get into a big debate with regards to the live stream as well. Each and every one of us have got an opinion, some educated, some not, with regards to the situation that we find ourselves in 2025. But we are cooling things down. We are going to see fresher conditions over the next few days here. Again, drier, warmer, the further south you go, cooler, wetter, more unsettled, and windier as well, the further north you go. So I wanted to actually, since we're approaching the end of June, I wanted to actually look briefly today at what was said with regards to the summer forecast and where we're at. So obviously this is the diagram. It does look like a 5-year-old has drawn this, but no, it was myself, but it was on the phone, in fairness. That's why it looks a little bit amateurish. But you can see here generally the overall idea. I think that line with regards to the separation between warmer and drier versus cooler and wetter could be a little bit further north over the UK, I must admit. But the overall idea was, and this is for the whole summer, by the way, so this isn't just June, albeit I do have this kind of synoptic setup with lower pressure towards Iceland, higher pressure towards the continent. I've got my reasons why I think that's going to be the case, especially when you've got a dry, large land area like the continent of Europe. High pressure tends to want to try and kind of build stronger over that dry soil. And that is essentially what we're seeing at the moment here, but lower pressure to the north and northwest. This is how June has looked so far. So we've got this strong negative here, this low pressure up towards Iceland, or over Iceland. We've got a very strong ridge of high pressure over the Mediterranean basin extending into Central Europe. We've got another strong ridge over the central North Atlantic as well. So that is to me suggests that this has actually not been a bad idea for the month of June. So obviously we've still got July and August to go, but I think the overall way things are playing out is looking quite good. So what did I say for the month of June? Potentially driest of the 3 month period, with a lengthy spell of high pressure, above average temperatures, below average rainfall for much of Western and Central Europe, including the UK and Ireland. The month could commence unsettled, but they changed to more settled heading towards the 10th of June, with a peak of the dry, warm or hot spell between the 10th and the 20th before a return to lower pressure late month. That's not been a bad idea. Yeah, we've not had this strong high that's dominated all of the UK. Obviously, Scotland's only had 2 days where the temperatures have surged, and then focusing more across England as well as Wales. So generally near average rainfall for Scotland, Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, average to below average for England and Wales. Maximum temperatures, 31 to 33 for England, 28 to 30 for Wales, 28 to 30 for Scotland, and 27 to 28 for Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. 31 to 33. What did we see yesterday? It looks as if we've seen a temperature of 33.2 at Charlwood. So upper end of that thinking. But remember, this was a forecast that was released back on the 25th of May. Not necessarily blowing moan trumpet, but generally speaking, that's not bad. In terms of the Republic of Ireland, we had the highest temperature for June since 2018. Obviously, that was the last drought summer. We've seen very hot temperatures as well. 29.6, so actually slightly warmer for the Republic of Ireland. But again, this is in Mount Dillon, Roscommon County in the Republic of Ireland. I think there was a 29.5 recorded in Castlederg, if I'm right in saying. But yeah, not a bad shout in terms of temperatures. And obviously this is going to be potentially the warmest of June. We may have a shot at another few 30s towards the end of the upcoming week as a higher pressure tries to exert influence back into the UK from the south. But there's a very flat zonal regime over the next week or so here. We've also got James098 tuning in. Good afternoon to James. Good to see you, my friend. I hope you're well. So Katrine saying flashbacks of the summer of 1976. The drought broke in September with torrential rain. And we've got Chris saying, my feeling on it is Scotland more so isn't seeing the global warming like perhaps England and certainly Europe. I feel it's more a Europe and worldwide thing. I feel us as the UK just out in the open. So yeah, I mean, it depends on where you are in the world, of course. You're probably seeing the influences of a warming world more than other places. So yeah, it's an interesting topic. It is one of those things that politics, religion, but even in terms of climate can create quite a lot of angst among people. Good afternoon to Sink Splint as well. So we've got a near full house of moderators for today's stream. It's good to see you, Sink, and hope you're well. And James says, doing well, Mark. Thank you. So let me see here. Is there anybody else that I've missed out? I always like to give everybody a shout out. We've got 20 concurrent viewers at the moment here. Hit that like button. So that is June. We're obviously coming towards the end of June already. Absolutely remarkable to think that. Like, where has this year gone so far? It's amazing to think that we're nearly at the month of July already. So that's obviously the temperatures that were forecasted back on the 25th of May. Maximum temperatures are between 31 and 33 for England, 28 to 30 for Wales, 28 to 30 in Scotland. I think we missed out on 29 just in Scotland. Northern Ireland was slightly higher. So both the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland was actually warmer than that. I think I did actually, from what I can remember, I think I did actually pull back a couple of those figures because I thought that might be too warm, and lo and behold, it was actually underdone. So in terms of the month of July, let's have a quick look just to see what is being said for the month of July. So another somewhat mixed month with back and forth pressure swings containing decent summer heat with a lot of warmer than average fuel in the surrounding seas. Thunderstorms could be lively with frequent lightning. We'll talk about that in a little second. Gusty winds and hailstorms with flash flooding an issue, especially to the end of a 10-day hot spell. Cooler, wetter and windier for Scotland and Northern Ireland, but not without some warm to hot days. Average to slightly above average in terms of rainfall for much of the UK and Ireland. Wettest always towards the northwest. Maximum temperatures that I've got for the month of July is 32 to 34 for England and Wales. 27 to 29, possibly 30 for both Scotland as well as Ireland, including obviously Northern Ireland as well. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that. Obviously, the July outlook will be released over the next week or so here, so stay tuned for that. But certainly, were you wakened last night by some of the lightning as well as the thunder and the torrential rain? It has to be said that I recorded here the greatest intensity of rainfall that the site has seen so far. Obviously, there's a short period of record. It's only been online since beginning of 2023. It will be 3 years operating in January coming up. So a very short period of record, but I did record a rainfall rate of just shy of 50 millimeters per hour. So very intense rainfall, thunder, lightning, gusty winds. We did see one very significant band of thunderstorms develop over the West Midlands up towards the northeast, Tyneside, Northumberland, even into the southeast of Scotland as well. And then a secondary line of convective thunderstorms developed as the frontal system moved in from the west this morning. My wife was driving to work at around 5:20, 5:25 this morning. Blinding rain, lots of lightning, water very quickly gathered on the road, and she says that, well, it was amongst the heaviest rain she's driven in so far. But you can see here this animation showing the first band of thunderstorms running that northeasterly corridor. Then a secondary band developed here. It really lit up really from about Inverness northwards. That occurred. That was the time that Lindsay was driving to work this morning. Lying in bed, it was lovely to hear the incredible rainfall, thunder, lightning. So let me know in the live chat, did you experience those thunderstorms both last night and this morning? I would be curious to know your experiences and share them with everybody else. Looked amazing on radar, but nothing down here. Yeah, it looked as if, Paul, you were, there's obviously convection developed over the southeast, but then well to the north of your location down in Hampshire. But yeah, you missed out. You were just a little bit to the west of that developing thunderstorms. Essentially started up over the north of France, moved across the Channel and into the southeast of England to the east of you, Paul. Then there was obviously more thunderstorms developed and spread across the North Sea. This is another interesting way of looking at it here. Just bear with a second. So this was from about 6:06 UTC this morning. Lots of convection over the Caribbean, the eastern Gulf of Mexico, Florida, the southeast United States, and then there was some tremendous thunderstorms over the northern tier of the United States back, I think it was on Friday night. There was one cell, they combined to make up a mesoscale convective system or a mesoscale convective complex. I think it covered a 400-mile stretch, so that's the equivalent of like between Glasgow and Edinburgh. Imagine an area of convection that big, but that's what happens over these open plains of the United States and even Canada as well, when you've got this convergence of competing weather and air mass forces these storms to develop over the top of the ridge that's building now eastwards. Could be seeing temperatures as high as 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 38 Celsius in New York on Tuesday afternoon. So very, very hot temperatures, but you tend to have these ridge-riding thunderstorms around the periphery of the high. And that thunderstorm complex that ran through North Dakota and Minnesota back on Friday night developed a wind gust in excess of 100 miles per hour. Straight line winds, very damaging, but also it developed a tornado in North Dakota that may be an EF3, possibly an EF4. I know that the National Weather Service are assessing the damage from that tornado and seeing exactly how strong the winds are. But an EF3, you're talking wind gusts well in excess of 130 miles per hour. But it may be that it's actually upgraded to an EF4 when that survey is carried out. But lots of thunderstorms again over Iberia, central and eastern Spain, lots over Italy, some over parts of Greece and Turkey, as can be seen here, a little bit over northeastern Ukraine and western Russia. There's the lines of thunderstorms then that developed. So just to the east of where Paul is located. We had some over the north side of Kent, extending possibly just fringing into Essex off the Norfolk-Suffolk coast. Then we had some just extending from far eastern Lincolnshire out into the North Sea. And then we had this main band here, I think 300 plus lightning strikes in a short space of time, extending from just off the west coast of northwestern England up into the north of England and extending into the Borders region. We had a few flashes over the Argyll area, and then we had some of these flashes really extending from Glen Affric, Inverness, northwards. So good afternoon to Hazel Kitching. Good to see you, Hazel, and hope you're well. Let me just see here. Turbo Stream's also tuning. Good afternoon to you. Good to see you. Sorry I'm late. No problem. Better late than ever. And obviously you can play this back at your leisure as well. So if you've missed out the start, you can always play it back at some point when you're free. So Turbo Stream saying very little in the way of rain in Birmingham again. We got 10 drops, then it dries up again. Yes, and that is the concern with regards to heat when you've got a drier, particularly south of the UK, and obviously a lot of that heat dome focusing over Europe. It temporarily keeps returning back into the southern UK, and I think that drought almost acts like a magnet, pulling some of that heat over the channel and the far southern side of the North Sea into the UK. And with that dry ground, we increase the temperatures at the surface as well. This is how things are looking as of the final 3rd of May, by the way. I think there's some 40% of the continent under drought watch at this moment in time here. So the areas in yellow, orange and red are within drought category. And certainly that central swathe, including the UK and Ireland, is in that drought situation. So we need to keep an eye on the heat trying to build northwards. So looking at the live lightning then, let's see how it's looking, what's going on at this moment in time. Let me just see here if I can go back to the current period. Do you want to see my Instagram? I'm sure. This is the current lightning activity, so we can see that over eastern Spain again, like earlier on. You can see lots of lightning activity showing up. So this is live current lightning being detected, some over the south of France where we've still got plenty of heat, and also over the far west of Germany. High and dry across the UK. We've got cooler, fresher westerly winds now in play, but it's obviously as that fresh air moves eastwards into the western mainland of Europe, you've got that clash, and as a consequence you get those thunderstorms developing. Let's have a quick look then at, we'll zoom out and have a look and see what else is happening across the world. Got some lightning being detected across equatorial Africa, into the north of Africa as well. Plenty out over the open Atlantic. Northeastern United States is seeing some storms. More lightning being detected with storms over the far northern tier of the United States, some over the Gulf and the Caribbean. Moving across the Pacific, you've got some lightning activity over parts of the South China Sea, over Japan. Southern and western Honshu is seeing some lightning. We're seeing it over the Philippines as well. Even parts of Indonesia is seeing some lightning. We're not seeing anything over India. We've obviously seen quite a sharp uptick in terms of the monsoon, which in a grand scheme of things is obviously good news for agricultural purposes and obviously the general population. This part of the world very significantly depends on the Indian monsoon. This is, by the way, the current visible satellite. We've got a nice area of low pressure circulation spinning over western Russia at this moment in time, largely high and dry across the heart of Europe. There's that frontal system associated with low pressure to the north, now edging into northern France. So that's cleaning out the air over the north of France and eventually into the Low Countries as well. Temperatures been in the 30s for the past several days, but we are going to start to see more of an Atlantic influence into the west of Europe here. That is going to continue to spread eastwards. And obviously with the clash with daytime heating, lots of heat and humidity at the surface, that frontal boundary acts like a trigger increases the level of CAPE, which is convective available potential energy. So we're seeing the blow up day by day of strong thunderstorms along that demarcation zone between fresh Atlantic and hot, humid continental air. So we're seeing that taking place and developing, today and over the next several days. We've got 23 concurrent viewers at the moment here. Spread the word that the channel is live if you so wish. Let people know that we are engaging with one another at this moment in time. It's always good to get a chat with everybody, get your opinions and thoughts. It is always good to hear from everybody. So let's move on then, and we'll look at the current rainfall. This is over the last 24 hours, by the way, in terms of rainfall. Some reasonable amounts of rain thanks to those thunderstorms across many parts of the UK, but there is places south and east that essentially is high and dry, as you can see here. There's basically, that's where that thunderstorm corridor developed during last night. So we've got some reasonably sizable rainfall amounts in excess of an inch. Not a huge amount, it has to be said, but you can see essentially where those thunderstorms roll through. We've got the biggest rainfall north and south of that corridor, little in the way of rain, and then obviously we had the storms up across the far north and west of Scotland. Seen some bigger rainfall totals as a result of that as well. Zooming back out then, and you can see very little in the way of rain across central areas of Europe. Some over the Alpine region, but again, very little in the way of rainfall across France. That's not a good sign for the weeks ahead. It will start to increase the drought over this region, and heat is always more prominent when you've got a very dry ground. We've had some storms over the heart of Spain, central and northern Spain, seeing some rainfall totals with storms a little bit over Greece as well as Turkey, but very little in the way of rainfall across much of Europe. Skipping out then, we've had some big rainfall totals here over parts of the Middle East, for example. Look at this here, some very sizable amounts of precipitation over parts of Armenia, in there, Azerbaijan as well. Probably some very big thunderstorms in this region causing those big rainfall totals. And obviously moving across to India, we've had a much livelier and widespread convection. We've actually had must have had some storms over parts of Oman in the last 24 hours. We've picked up upwards of 11 millimeters of rainfall in here. But some of the storms has been producing some big rainfall totals over parts of India, as you can see here, into Bangladesh, up into the foothills of the Himalayas, some of the wettest parts of the world in this region. Then China has had some remarkable flooding in recent days. We will look at that in a little bit more detail in a second here. But you see here, we tend to have the Meiyu front that develops over China at this time of the year, where you've got some fresher air trying to come in from the Pacific. We've got a lot of heat over the Turpan Basin in central China. That is, again, very, very hot part of the world. But you get this frontal boundary that kind of develops during the course of the summertime, and we can see some very significant rainfall as a consequence of that. You can see some big rainfall totals over South Korea, over the far south of Japan, as well as the far north up into Hokkaido as well. We've seen some big rainfall over the last 24 hours or so. Down into the southeast of Asia, we've had some of the Manchulian Oscillation in this area, so we've increased the rainfall in this part of the world, parts of Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, seeing some big rainfall totals. And then the upper portion of the Malay Peninsula have been seeing some big rains over the Philippines, also parts of Indonesia, especially the east of Indonesia recently, and then up into parts of coastal Queensland. We've had some bigger rainfall amounts in recent days. So that is rainfall. Let's have a quick look at the current temperatures. Then we will look at the temperature anomalies over the last week or so as well. But let's zoom out. Obviously, we've got winter down in Australia, so cooler temperatures as a result. Central and southern portions of the country, we've obviously got the tropical north that holds on to mid-20s pretty much throughout the year. You can see cooler conditions down across New Zealand. Then the usual hotspots, the Middle East. I think there was a minimum temperature of 40 degrees in Oman in the last couple of days. So extreme heat is back across the Middle East. It's that time of the year again where 40s, even near 50 degrees, is pretty commonplace now. We're seeing cooler temperatures as a result of the bigger thunderstorms and widespread cloud cover across India that tempers the heat here. We've obviously got sub-Saharan Africa with temperatures approaching the mid-40s. Parts of Egypt, Libya, Algeria, we've been seeing some incredible heat in recent times. Lots of heat across Iberia, then moving across to the Americas, and obviously plenty of sunshine through the Caribbean at the moment. And as a consequence, when you've got less in the way of cloud cover, temperatures are well into the 30s throughout the Caribbean Sea at this point in the year. Lots of heat now building northwards over the eastern side of North America. We've actually got some winter storm or winter weather advisories, I think, over parts of the Northern Rockies. We could see several inches of snowfall in parts of Yellowstone National Park, for example, over the next few days. We've got a little trough, a little bit area of cooler weather moving into the northern northwestern portions of the United States, hence why we've got some snow potential here. So we'll zoom out and have a bigger, more global view of temperature across the world at the moment. So you've got generally the hottest part of the world, Africa, Middle East. That is quite common at this time of the year anyway. Speaking of extreme rainfall, let me just show you this tweet here from Jim Yang. So this is a region of China that has seen some remarkable amounts of rain. I think it's Guangxi is the pronunciation. I looked it up just before going on live, and I said to Lindsay, I says I'll probably forget that when I'm live. But yeah, Guangxi I think is the pronunciation of this place. Guangdong as well, seeing upwards of 1,034 millimeters of rain within a 5-day period. So exceptional flooding in this part of China. Check this out. So pretty horrendous stuff. Let's have a quick look at Jim's Twitter feed, and we can kind of follow some of the scenes, videos coming out of parts of China. We've also been seeing exceptional heat in this part of the world as well in recent times. Check this out here. I'll put it in mute because you do get an echo, but also it might interrupt with regards to the copyright stuff. So I'll turn off the music in case that creates a slight issue with YouTube. But you can see here, and this was mile after mile of major flooding across parts of Hunan province of China, Guangxi, Guangdong. Check this out.
小孩开心哦！你妈抱大腿。
This region here, Bengbu, I think it is, had some 210 millimeters of rainfall within a 24-hour period. There's some places that have recorded over 600 millimeters of rain within a 24-hour period, which is an astonishing amount of rain. Look at these temperatures though as well. We're talking about the Turpan Basin, hottest part of China, it has to be said, but 47 Celsius may be reached over the next few days. So that was a tweet there back, what was this? This was on the 20th of June. Again, check this out. Look at the mess. Kids getting rescued from from flooded homes. Sad scenes. So obviously our thoughts and prayers are with the folks here. This is another one here from Shaanxi in Hunan. So this must be a store. First day of opening, and they're hit by that major devastating flooding. So yeah, massive impacts on lives, many millions of lives as well in parts of China. Look at this here. Extreme rainstorms moved northwards. Hunan recording record-breaking 24-hour rainfall of 516 millimeters within a 24-hour period, and upwards of 9 meters water level rise in 12 hours. So very high impact flooding in parts of China. Check this out as well, by the way. This is Guangdong. Watch this. So lots of damage being caused as well. Yeah, there's that tweet there. 634 millimeters of rainfall within a 24-hour period on the 17th of June. Western Guangdong, extreme rainstorms affecting this region. So you get the overall idea. There's no point in me sharing every single video with you, but yeah, that is what's going on in China at the moment. Let's have a quick look then at Weather Monitor and Volcanic on Twitter for some of the extreme rains that have been affecting many parts in recent times. So let me just see here. There's some of the flooding that's affecting China. Check this out, by the way. This is not an actual tornado is visible, but this was a thunderstorm complex that ran through a place called Enderlin in North Dakota. Produced a wind gust in excess of 100 miles per hour. But look at this CCTV footage of that wall cloud or shelf cloud, and look at the amount of frequency in that of the lightning. I don't think this has been sped up. But yeah, some pretty crazy scenes coming out of North Dakota as a result of those storms. Large hail in Baella in a province in Italy. Again, that would be pretty scary stuff to see that coming towards you. Looks like the sound of tornado sirens going off in the town here. Pretty eerie sound, I must admit. There's a kind of creepy element to that sound. It must be quite scary that during the night to hear that going off. Trying to see if there's anything else. Large wildfire burning in Croatia near the town of Omis, I think it is. Destroyed about a dozen houses, an oil mill and several vehicles, burning around 300 hectares of land. Approximately 80 people, mostly tourists, were evacuated and sheltered in a local sports hall. And this, unfortunately, is a scene that I think we're going to get used to seeing this summer, is wildfires because of the drought, the likelihood that we're going to see intense heat. It's going to be a long, hot summer, especially across the Mediterranean and central areas of Europe here, I think. This was, by the way, in a part of Mexico. Flash flooding. I don't know if this was associated with Eric, by the way, that made landfall back on Thursday morning. The early hours of Thursday morning, Eric made landfall as a 125 mile per hour hurricane. It did reach Category 4 status. Then it interacted with land, was probably drier, ingested into the circulation as well, causing the system to weaken from a 145 Cat 4 down to a 125 Cat 3. But it is the earliest hurricane to make landfall. By the way, this is the scene in parts of Alberta, Canada. So some wintry conditions in the Rocky Mountains of Canada. This was back a tweet from Tom Graham, shared by Volcanic 18 hours ago. So this was over the last 24 hours or so, this wintry scenes coming out of parts of Canada. More on the flash flooding in China. Estafex released an unusual warning, by the way, for England due to those thunderstorms back last night here. We had a mesoscale discussion on Estafex talking about the potential of 3 to 5 centimetre hail and some pretty strong and unusual wording associated with convective thunderstorms over England last night. So that is that. Let's move on then and look quickly at what weather monitor is showing. This was the scenes, by the way, in a region of Vietnam, Laos, which is the capital, Laos. I'm getting confused this afternoon. Blah 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 blah. District. So this was in Laos, I believe. Flash flooding. So Southeast Asia. Again, the MJO is in that part of the world at the moment, which increases the amount of rain that can fall. Let's just see here what else I can show. This was in Hefei in China. Convection blowing up tremendous amounts of rain with that frontal system. Trying to see if there's anything else that I can show. Again, that flooding parts of Mexico. There's the snowfall in parts of Alberta. Good afternoon to Ross Miller. Thanks for tuning in, my friend. What do you think July and August will look like, Mark? As discussed, I don't know if you missed it. I do think we are going to see a continuation of back and forth between heat coming out of the south, cooler, lower pressure, trying to exert its influence further north across the UK in the month of July. I think there's going to be a similarity to what we're seeing this June. There is a scene from Ternate in Indonesia back on the 21st of June. So flash flooding in parts of Indonesia as well. Again, all associated with an enhanced active branch of the Manjulian Oscillation in this part of the world. This is the scene from Metro Manila in the Philippines. Again, all part of the same setup that is fueling enhanced rainfall. We're seeing the monsoon in India very active. Just see here if there's anything else I can show before moving on. We will have a quick look, by the way, at the week ahead, if I can remember. Then we obviously had Hurricane Eric that made landfall back early Friday morning. This is the aftermath, by the way, from Eric. This is from France 24.
Assess the aftermath of Hurricane Eric and begin cleanup operation. Trail of debris where businesses and houses stood hours earlier. Residents of this village in Mexico's Oaxaca state assess the aftermath of Hurricane Eric and begin cleanup operations under heavy rainfall.
So that's what happens when you've got a 125 mile per hour category 3, I was going to say 4, moving onshore in western Mexico. We also seen major flooding also because very high mountains just off the coastline, which enhances that tropical rain even further. So let's have a quick look then at Terry Goose's Twitter handle and see some of the extremes that have been taking place. We had temperature just shy of 40 Celsius yesterday in France. Some records for the month of June, all-time records, I think, have been threatened or even broken in a couple of spots as well. But some tremendous heat. Yes, we did see 33 in England yesterday, but almost mid-30s across parts of Belgium and into the Netherlands as well. But the core of that heat, the worst of it, was seen down in France. Yeah, some very intense heat. A lot of people like it. A lot of people don't like it. Verkhoyansk in the far east of Russia, one of the most infamous ice boxes in Russia, experienced a remarkable cool spell during the middle of June. So this is another interesting one here. While a lot of the time we're talking about heat, there is areas of record cool. The maximum temperature of June 14th was only 6.1 Celsius. On the 15th, it was only 5.5 for a maximum, and June 16th, 7.5. These are temperatures that are 15 Celsius below average. Such a cold snap has not occurred since the middle of June 2004 or 1982. So a notable cold spell for Verkhoyansk in far eastern Russia back during the course of last week. Temperatures again back to the heat. We've seen temperatures as high as 43.2 in parts of Andalusia County in Spain, 41 in Portugal, and like I said, we missed out just shy of 40 in France yesterday afternoon. Let's just see here if there's anything else that I can show. We did also see some very big contrasts between Western Europe with the heat and unusual cool over the east of Europe here. Temperatures also in Kofu of 38.2. That's the second highest temperature for June and record for mid-June in this region of Honshu in Japan. Tokyo 34.8. Sorry, that's a record for mid-June in Tokyo. 65 stations above 35. So tremendous heat in parts of Japan in recent days. We also seen Kuwait International Airport record a temperature of 51.3 Celsius. Ouch. That is only 0.8 from the all-time record for Kuwait International Airport. Some stations have recorded temperatures up to 54, but this is very doubtful. Also in Saudi Arabia, temperatures of 49.6 was achieved, and I think Oman 49 in a couple of spots as well. And then there was a temperature extreme heat in the Middle East. Kuwait, Failaka Island recorded a temperature of 52. This was last Sunday, I believe it was, just after going off the live last Sunday afternoon. Temperature at the Failaka Island in Kuwait, 52.6. That's a world record for an island, according to Thierry Goose. So there you go. Very intense heat again. After what was a cool start to June in the Middle East, it's interesting. I don't think there's any coincidence that when we had the cooler weather in western portions of Europe, we had cooler across the Middle East. Once we heated things up over Western Europe, we've seen the temperatures over the Middle East heat up as well. All part of the same system, downstream of ridges and troughs that's set up over the Northern Hemisphere. And then this is back to last week's chat. Namibia seen a temperature of minus 7.9 at Windhoek Airport. So, let me see here what the script is going forward then. So the current temperatures across Europe looks like this. This is for the UK, by the way. So a good bit fresher in the southeast of the UK compared to yesterday. These were the maximum temperatures yesterday, by the way. And Charlwood was obviously the hotspot of 33.2 Celsius. But they were seen 30, 32, quite widespread across the east, southeast of Britain, with temperatures as high as 28 at Aviemore. Here at the house, the temperature did rise on Friday afternoon to 26.7 Celsius, but we did see a drop within a 15-minute window. We've seen the temperature drop by 5 degrees, and it was a simple wind shift from westerly to easterly. The sea breeze kicked in about 20 to 4 on Friday afternoon. The temperature actually dropped 5 Celsius in just 15 minutes, which I thought was quite interesting. We did struggle yesterday with an onshore breeze, cloud cover. That breeze then started to relax. We've seen more in the way of sunshine as well. Temperatures did rise to 21 Celsius here at the house. But the big contrast between Tain, maximum of only 16.7, that's and then 28 at Aviemore. That's a distance of about 40 miles as the crow flies, by the way. And Tain was struggling at 15.5, while it was 28 at Aviemore at 1 point yesterday afternoon, which I thought was quite interesting. Upwards of 25.9 at the Altnahara, but 25.6 at Catesbridge. And then, as you can see here, we've seen temperatures as high as 49. Sorry, not 49. Wow. But Albemarle Barracks in Northumberland recorded 28.9 Celsius. So that was how close the 30 Celsius mark was to the southeast of Scotland. And then, obviously, we did see 28 up in the Central Highland region yesterday. But these are the current temperatures, like I say, at the moment across the UK and Ireland, only 15 to 17, even a 14 if you notice here at Loch Liscarnock, so quite a fresh breeze, making it feel like 11.7 Celsius with the breeze. Temperatures holding on to 23, 24, 25 in the southeast of the UK, turning much fresher across Wales, as you can see here, southwestern England, northern England as well, across much of Ireland and Northern Ireland, much, much cooler than it has been in the last few days. In terms of the temperatures across the continent then, this is how it's looking. You can see here that we still hold on to some pretty hot weather, mid-30s into the northeast of Germany, southwestern Germany. Temperatures are slowly starting to edge down in the western portions of Belgium and the Netherlands, even northern portions of France as well, still holding on to 36 in eastern France this afternoon. Temperatures close to 40 again down in Iberia, as you can see, much fresher across the northern and western side of the UK and Ireland, and a little bit actually slightly warmer across parts of Norway, Sweden and Finland compared to the last few days, also as that fresher air moves in from the west. But you're going to see a decrease in the temperatures over the western mainland of Europe, I think, over the next few days. Speaking of mainland Europe, let's have a quick look at the temperatures over the next 7 days according to the CFSV2. So this is the upper height anomaly. As you can see here, deep low pressure to the south of Iceland, strong ridge of high pressure again over France. So therefore high and dry down across this part of the world. Looking into week 2, you can see here that that ridge actually slips a little bit further east. Got more in the way of low pressure across many parts of the UK, in fact, with the exception of the southwest. Then you can see here the ridge trying to exert a little bit more influence. This is all the way out to the 6th through the 13th of July, and then more in the way of ridging again by the time we reach the 13th through the 20th of July. In terms of the temperature anomalies then, let's have a quick look and see. So you can see here again, much of England and Wales largely warmer than average this upcoming 7-day period. Obviously, we've got Glastonbury next weekend. There is some models indicating that we have a little bit more of a heat surge again towards Thursday, Friday, Saturday next week. Cooler across the north of the UK as well as Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland into week 2. It actually turns cooler still. So this is towards the end of June, beginning of July. CFSV2 is indicating that the UK is largely cooler than average, with the exceptions of the south and southeast. And then into week 3, which is obviously quite a way out, actually holding on to quite a cool signal through the first half of July, if this is anything to go by. So that's quite an interesting outlook for the UK in terms of precipitation anomaly. So this is not actual rainfall, but it's the anomaly compared to average. Drier England and Wales, wetter across the north, and that's very much indicative of the overall thinking anyway. Looking into week 2, turns wetter still according to CFSV2 as the ridge continues to push more towards Eastern Europe. Got more influence of that trough over the eastern Atlantic. And then in the week 3, it turns a little bit drier the further north you go. Let's have a quick look at weather charts then and see what the day-to-day stuff is looking like off the European model, so the ECMWF. Look at the bigger picture. So you can see here, low pressure becoming more dominant across the UK over the next few days. Play it through. We've got this firm westerly flow of flattened the ridge to the south. It's stretched out. It's elongated across the Atlantic and into southern Europe. But notice here that we always have that opportunity for something warmer and more settled into the southern UK. Continue to play through. Very much, you don't get much more of a flatter, more zonal flow than this. So western area is always more susceptible to the showers coming in off the Atlantic with that breeze. Continue to play through. This is the question mark here towards the end of the middle portions of the week. We do have an opportunity with more of a trough digging over the Atlantic to pull some of this warmth out of the Iberia and France into the UK. But there's an area of low pressure, if you notice here, that may ride that southerly flow and introduce warmer but also more unstable, more thundery as a consequence. You can see here by the time we reach Thursday, later Wednesday into Thursday, we've got that system that's running up into the UK, bringing much more widespread showers, possible thunderstorms embedded within that unstable environment here, generally speaking. Then as we move towards the end of the working week, yes, we've got some systems that are riding a southwesterly flow, but with high pressure down towards the near continent, lower pressure to the northwest. We've got an opportunity for a cooler, more unsettled west-north, drier, warmer across the south and southeast. So there is question marks over Glastonbury in terms of how warm. Let's put on the 850 temperatures and see what it's showing. So yeah, we've got an area of low pressure that's close by to the west, but it may try and pull something warmer into particularly the southern UK, not so much across the far north and west. Looks as if it may be cooler and more unsettled here. But generally speaking, we may see something warmer trying to lift northwards towards the next weekend. And then as we move in beyond that, final days of the month, there is a chance of something warmer still coming up to the very end of the month here with an area of low pressure to the west here. But again, it's all subject to change. It's all subject to variation going forward. That's the ECMWF. Let's have a quick look at the GFS. And again, it's indicating, low pressure generally to the west. Higher pressure over the continent. May see some warmer weather moving into the UK towards the final days of June. So, let me just see here if there's anything else. I've lost the live chat for some reason. I don't know why that is the case. That's bang on 5 o'clock, so I'm going to try and round things up in just a second, but I don't know why I can't see any comments now. Don't know what that's all about. But let's have a quick look at the temperature anomalies, and then we will finish off. So over the last few days, we've obviously been seeing temperatures as high as 12 Celsius above average across the UK and Ireland. There's that heat surge coming up during the course of Friday. And you can see here, Central and Eastern Europe below average, firmly below average actually, when we had that surge of very hot air coming up from Spain and Portugal across the UK. Let's have a quick look then at the world view, and we'll round things up there. Kind of done things different this week, because I normally would start off by showing this here, but this is the month to date. Big areas of cooler than average, which is quite interesting for the month of June. Look at Canada, that really stands out as in terms of colder than average. Look at eastern and northern Russia, firmly below average. Southwestern China, that area has been persistent. Down across much of India, below average. In the parts of the Middle East, still below average, which is interesting. Iran into much of Saudi Arabia. Yeah, we've got a warmer than average. Iraq, Syria, into Turkey as well. Much of Europe's been warmer than average. You can see northern and southern portions of Africa below average. Much of the northern and eastern Australia below average. Much of South America has been warmer than average, with the exceptions of northern Argentina. We've seen big flooding across parts of Mato Grosso region here. Not Mato Grosso, the Porto Alegre down in the far south of Brazil. We've seen more flash floods in this part of the world in the last few days as well here. Plenty of heat to speak about. Western United States, parts of northwestern China, into parts of western Russia. Ukraine has seen, or not Ukraine, parts of Kazakhstan. I'll get there. Parts of Kazakhstan's been firmly warmer than average, as you can see here. I don't know why I've lost the live chat, but I'm going to round it up there because that's us pretty much been on for an hour. So I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen on today's channel. Be sure to hit that like button, share with your friends and family. And if you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you a single penny. Coming up tomorrow, we will have the European Outlook, looking at the week ahead, looking at some of the longer range stuff as well. So Monday to Friday, European Outlook, and then back as usual with the weekend schedule next weekend. But that's a long way off, so there's no point in going on about that. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Have a nice dinner if you're having a Sunday roast or whatever. And I'll be back again tomorrow with the European Outlook. Hope you're all keeping well at the moment and not overexerting yourself in this warm weather. But at least it's starting to turn a little bit fresher. So I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Have a great one, and I'll see you tomorrow with the European Outlook. Bye. Bye for now.